Welcome back to our deep dive series. Today we're zeroing in on some key current affairs insights crucial for your UPSC preparation, specifically from April 13th, 2025. This is part 2.
That's right. We're here to help you cut through the noise, connect the dots on what really matters for the exams.
And you might find some familiar ground here, which is great for revision, actually.
Definitely. So today we'll be exploring India's pretty significant position in the global silk industry and what the government's doing to support it.
Then we'll shift gears to governance, looking at how litigation involving the central government is managed, and some new directives there.
And after that, we'll touch on India's role in the International Solar Alliance, the ISA, and wrap up with a really important Supreme Court ruling on President's assent to state bills.
Okay, quite a packed session. Let's dive right in. Silk first.
Yes, let's start with silk. India holds a really impressive position globally. We're the world's second largest producer.
The second largest, okay. But also the largest consumer, right?
Exactly. And that highlights just how culturally important silk is here. The domestic demand is huge.
And the export value, over 2,000 crore rupees you mentioned, that's substantial.
It really is a significant contributor to the economy.
So just a quick recap for everyone, silk itself. It's a natural protein fiber. Comes mainly from the Bombyx mori silkworm.
And sericulture is the whole process of cultivating these silkworms for silk.
Right. They eat mulberry leaves mostly, but also oak, castor, even argan leaves.
Yes, quite a varied diet depending on the type of silk.
Yeah.
Then they spin the cocoons, which we process into yarn and fabric.
Now, you mentioned something unique about India's production.
Ah, yes. And this is a key point for UPSC aspirants. India is the only country producing all 4 major varieties of natural silk.
All 4? That's quite something. Gives us a unique edge, I imagine.
Definitely. It offers diversity and resilience in the global market.
And this isn't just happening naturally. There's strong institutional backing, the Central Silk Board.
Yes. Headquartered in Bengaluru, it's a statutory body under the Ministry of Textiles, focused on, well, inclusive development of the sector.
Statutory bodies so created by Parliament with specific powers.
Correct. Then you have the Silk Mark Organization of India, SMOI.
Their role is certifying genuine silk. That must be crucial for trust.
Absolutely. Both domestically and for exports. Quality and authenticity are paramount.
And there's an international body, too, based in Bangalore.
The International Sericultural Commission, yes. UN affiliated, working on global silk development, shows India's key role internationally.
Okay, so strong institutions. What about policies and schemes?
Well, there's Silk Samagra and its successor, Silk Samicra 2. These focus heavily on R&D, quality improvement, tech transfer, the fundamentals.
Getting better tech to the producers on the ground. Makes sense.
And there's the Raw Material Supply Scheme, providing subsidized yarn for handloom weavers, a direct support mechanism.
That seems vital for the handloom sector and skill development.
Ah, yes, the SAMART scheme for capacity building in textiles sector. It covers silk, jute, handlooms, garmenting, aiming to train 3 lakh people by 2026.
3 lakh. That's ambitious, but addresses a critical need for skilled workers.
It certainly does.
We also see geographical indications, GIs playing a role, like Kanchipuram silk.
Exactly. Kanchipuram from Tamil Nadu, Muga silk from Assam, that unique golden silk.
Mysore silk from Karnataka, Bhagalpuri silk too. These GIs protect the heritage and add brand value, don't they?
They absolutely do. They signify quality and origin, which is vital in the market.
And is production actually growing?
Yes, there's a clear upward trend. Raw silk production went from about 31.9 thousand metric tons in 2017-18 up to around 38.9 thousand in 2023-24.
So the support seems to be having a real effect?
The numbers suggest so, yes.
Right.
It's encouraging.
Let's quickly cover the types again. Mulberry is the main one.
Overwhelmingly, around 90%, mostly in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal.
Okay. Then Tusar, or Kusa silk. That's wild silkworms.
Yes. Feeding on arjun and asan trees. Think Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha for Tusar.
And airy silk, the Hamsa or nonviolent silk.
That's right. The moth emerges before processing, mainly found in the northeast Assam, Meghalaya.
And finally, Muga silk. Exclusively Assam, right? The golden one.
Exclusively Assam, Antheraea assamensis. It's a truly diverse silk landscape we have.
It really is. A woven tapestry, you could say. Okay, let's pivot now. Shifting from silk to government litigation.
Right. A critical aspect of governance. The Ministry of Law has issued a new directive for the efficient and effective management of litigation by Government of India.
Sounds quite comprehensive. What's the main aim?
It's about an integrated approach, really.
Hmm.
Better governance, public welfare, timely justice. Think of it as a standard operating procedure, an SOP, for government litigation.
And who does it apply to?
Pretty much everyone at the central level. All ministries, departments, attached and subordinate offices, autonomous bodies, even arbitration for central public sector enterprises, CPSEs.
Wow, broad scope. And they're suggesting states might adopt it too.
They are, yes. Recognizing the need for a more unified approach nationwide.
What are the big challenges this directive is trying to address?
Well, firstly, the sheer volume. We're looking at nearly 700,000 pending cases where the central government is a party.
700,000, that's an incredible number. The burden must be immense.
It is. And it's compounded by capacity constraints. Most ministries apparently don't even have dedicated legal cells.
No dedicated legal teams. That must make things difficult.
Extremely. And another key issue highlighted is how statutory provisions are sometimes interpreted too narrowly.
How does that lead to litigation?
Well, a narrow, perhaps overly legalistic interpretation can often be the root cause of a grievance escalating into a court case. A more pragmatic approach might resolve it earlier.
I see. And even simple procedural mistakes can cause problems, like incorrect forms.
Exactly. Non-fulfillment of basic procedural requirements, like improper affidavits or forms, can unfortunately lead to unnecessary legal battles.
So, what's the directive proposing to fix this? Strengthening internal capacity.
That's a major focus. Establishing dedicated legal cells, appointing nodal officers with legal expertise,
Nodal officers.
and providing specific training on litigation management through the IGOT Karmayogi platform, building that in-house expertise.
Makes sense. What about grievance redressal?
Also crucial, the directive mandates regular quarterly reviews and trend analysis of grievances.
Living for patterns, maybe?
Precisely. To identify systemic issues. They cited the Department of Post's biannual staff adalats as a good example of proactive grievance handling.
Okay. And a dedicated portal for arbitration.
Yes, a government arbitration portal. The idea is to collate data, much like the National Judicial Data Grid does for courts. Better data, better management of arbitration.
It was striking that the directive mentioned something like 70% of government litigation might be frivolous or avoidable.
It is a startling figure, isn't it? It suggests that a change in approach, more proactive resolution, less defensive legalism, could make a huge difference.
So it's not just procedures, it's also about mindset, perhaps.
Very likely. Fostering a culture of trying to solve problems before they hit the courts.
And the Supreme Court itself has commented on delays and complexity in government cases, hasn't it?
Frequently, these delays impact everything: rule of law, citizens' rights, resolving conflicts, the public good. Litigation needs to be efficient.
So the objective remains settling disputes judicially, but doing it much more effectively.
Exactly. A strategic, efficient, proactive approach is essential for good governance.
Right. Okay, let's move to our third topic, India and the International Solar Alliance, ISA.
Yes, another area of significant Indian engagement globally. India isn't just a member. We co-founded the ISA.
Co-founded with France back at COP21 in Paris, wasn't it?
That's right, in 2015. It signals a deep, long-term commitment to solar energy.
And India's taking a lead role within ISA, like with the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative.
Absolutely. ASAWAG is a major, ambitious initiative. India is aiming for a global grid connecting renewable energy sources with solar at the core.
That sounds transformative. But there's also practical support for other countries.
Yes, definitely. Funding for solar projects, training programs, technology transfer, especially focused on helping developing nations in Africa and Asia.
And there's direct financial support, too.
India provides about 100 crore rupees annually to ISA, specifically to help developing countries with their energy transition.
That's a concrete commitment. You mentioned a country partnership framework, CPF. What's that about?
It's basically a strategic tool, a framework for long-term cooperation between ISA and individual member countries to accelerate their clean energy transition through joint projects.
Okay, a structured way to collaborate. And Mauritius was the first African nation to sign one.
That's correct. It shows growing engagement and the tailored support ISA can offer.
So for those perhaps less familiar, ISA is a treaty-based intergovernmental body focused purely on promoting solar energy.
Correct. Tackling energy access and climate change. And importantly, its headquarters are right here in India, Gurugram.
And membership is pretty broad now.
Very broad. 104 countries had signed and ratified by March 2025. And since 2020, all UN member states are eligible to join. It's truly global.
Does it have specific targets?
Yes, the Towards 1,000 strategy, it's quite ambitious.
Towards 1,000, what does that involve?
Mobilizing USD 1 trillion in solar investments by 2030.
$1 trillion, okay.
Providing energy access to 1 billion people via clean energy. Installing 1,000 GW, that's 1 terawatt of solar capacity.
Huge numbers.
And mitigating 1,000 million tons of CO2 emissions annually. Big goals.
And how is ISO working towards these? Through specific initiatives?
Yes, several key ones. The SolarX Startup Challenge, for instance, supports solar startups with grants and acceleration.
Fostering innovation.
Then there's the StarSea initiative, focused on building technical and institutional solar capacity in member countries.
Capacity building again seems crucial.
It is. The Global Solar Facility is a payment guarantee fund to de-risk investments and attract more capital into solar projects.
Reducing financial risk, important for attracting private investment.
And they've also set up a Green Hydrogen Innovation Center, exploring the synergies between solar power and green hydrogen production. Looking ahead.
Right, that solar hydrogen link is definitely a growing area. Okay, a comprehensive approach from ISIS.
Indeed. Multifaceted.
All right, let's move to our final topic for today, a significant Supreme Court ruling.
Yes. Concerning bills reserved by a state governor for the president's assent, the case is State of Tamil Nadu versus Governor of Tamil Nadu.
And the key outcome relates to Article 201 of the Constitution.
Precisely. The court has effectively set a timeline for the president to act on these reserved bills.
This addresses that long-standing issue of potential indefinite delay, doesn't it?
It does. The court made several key observations. First, the president should ideally decide within 3 months.
3 months, that's a concrete time frame.
And crucially, if the president decides to withhold assent, reasons must be given, declared and communicated to the state government.
Reasons must be provided. That adds transparency and accountability.
Absolutely. The court also stressed cooperation states need to answer queries promptly, and the center should consider state proposals with due regard and expediency. Cooperative federalism in action.
So it's a two-way street.
Yes. And significantly, if no presidential action is taken within that time frame, states can file writ petitions.
They have legal recourse now. That effectively limits any idea of an absolute veto for the president on state bills, right?
Exactly. The court clarified there's no power to just sit on a bill indefinitely without reason. An absolute veto in that sense isn't permissible.
Did the court say anything about consultation before bills are passed?
It did suggest pre-legislation consultation. States should consider consulting the center before introducing bills likely needing presidential assent. Could smooth the process.
A proactive measure.
And it also mentioned Article 143, suggesting the president might seek the court's advisory opinion if a bill is reserved mainly on grounds of unconstitutionality.
Interesting. So the core issue Article 201 had was the lack of a time limit.
Yes. That ambiguity created the potential for indefinite delays, causing uncertainty for state legislatures.
And previous commissions, like Sarkaria and Punchy, had recommended timelines too.
They had. Both recommended a prescribed time frame back in 1983 and 2007. So this ruling aligns with those long-standing suggestions for improving center-state legislative relations.
So just to recap the president's options under Article 201 now, give assent, withhold assent, but now with reasons and a time frame, or return a non-money bill for reconsideration.
Correct. The ruling primarily clarifies and puts guardrails around the withhold assent option.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our topics. We've covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have, from India's silk industry
To government litigation management.
India's leadership in the International Solar Alliance.
And this very significant Supreme Court ruling on presidential assent. You can really see the connections, can't you? Economic policy, governance reforms, international roles, constitutional interpretations, all part of the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And for UPSC aspirants listening, understanding these nuances is critical. The institutional mechanisms, the policy goals, the legal frameworks, the implications of court rulings. It's all vital for both prelims and mains.
Definitely pay attention to the why behind these developments, the objectives, the challenges being addressed.
Right.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Considering the Supreme Court's emphasis on timelines and reasoned decisions for the president regarding state bills, how might this ruling actually reshape the day-to-day dynamics between the union and the states in the legislative process?
That's a great question. What challenges or perhaps even new opportunities might arise from this increased clarity and the potential for judicial intervention? Something to mull over.
Indeed. We hope this deep dive has been valuable for your preparation. If you found it helpful, please do like and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you these focused analyses.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning. We'll see you next time.